Trinity Fremont, we know that faith starts in the home. We also know that it can be difficult to take what we hear on Sunday and live it out in our homes the rest of the week. That's because information alone doesn't lead to growth and change. But information that's reflected on and put into practice is much more likely to lead to growth and change. Join us as we reflect on this past Sunday sermon and give practical starting points to help you live it out, your faith, in your family, and in your community.
Currently on the video, which these guys are. Hi.
Hey, now we're on the video. Howdy, y'all.
Good morning.
Hello.
So we have Casey, who's on location in a living room.
Living room, bedroom. Where are we at,
Yes.
Casey?
We're in the kitchen.
Kitchen.
Actually, dining room. Dining
Oh,
room.
Dining
There you
room.
go.
So you're going to cook us some bacon?
Yum.
We
Let's
can't
I
talk about
wish.
food.
Oh,
No
We
food.
always talk about food.
Well, can we talk about bacon during
I don't.
Lent?
Did we talk?
Is that-
You guys did
that a
talk
thing?
about
Oh, yeah.
food last week,
Mhm.
though.
We didn't.
I don't think there
we
was
were
any-
hungry at the end. I know
don't think
that.
there was food talk. I was absent.
Food
so
talk. New podcast.
Food talk.
I would totally be into that.
That would be fun.
I mean, Jesus loved food.
I know.
So
I mean, one of the most important things he gave us was the Last Supper. So
Did it involve bacon?
which is a foretaste of the feast to come, and I'm really excited for that feast. I don't know what's going to be there.
I'll be able to eat gluten.
Everyone, super duper Cooper says, good morning.
Hi, Cooper.
Cooper.
Aren't you supposed to be in school, Cooper? Ain't you?
He's in college.
Oh, he's in college.
Yes.
That's right. We don't go to school in
We don't
college.
no. So Paul, you brought up we're in Lent now. Happy Lent, y'all.
Happy
Happy
Lent.
Happy.
Lent.
Lent, y'all.
Happy Lent. I will say that all my staff who are Catholic are not happy because they can't have meat. And so they keep on yelling at me.
Bacon. Oh my goodness. Fish is a yummy meat.
Yummy meat. Well, I'm
And
from New
shrimp.
England. I really like fish.
Yeah.
actually.
See, I could eat shrimp every day.
Shrimp.
Oh, I love
Shrimp?
shrimp.
I don't consider
Any specific way to eat shrimp?
Any, you know what? Surprisingly, I do not like shrimp scampi with butter and Parmesan and
that's
broiled.
The best.
That's disgusting to
No,
me.
you're wrong, but
Grilled,
that's okay.
skewered, smoked, baked.
I don't know if
just-
I've had smoked shrimp.
Oh, just shrimp anyway.
Something to do this
Yeah.
and invite us over.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
On the bottom would
We'll
be
have a
like
shrimp tasting party.
cocktail is my bottom. I prefer them
Okay.
Yeah.
warmer,
You
but
like them. Okay.
yeah, does shrimp.
Ceviche.
Delicious.
Shrimp ceviche.
Ooh, gross. Tacos. Okay,
Yum.
now I'll stop. It's all out of my
Are you done?
symptoms. all
Lacey's just
staring at you.
listing foods, and we're
Well,
all starting
you know
to
what?
drool over here.
I'm in a really good mood today. It is sunny outside. My car said 29 degrees when I backed out of the driveway at 7:15 this morning. I'm like,
We're
it's a great day.
I kind of feel like I should play the scene in Forrest Gump when the guys are like shrimp.
I was
Yes.
thinking too. Bubble gum.
Bubba Gump shrimp. We're
totally
currently
forgot about that.
it's currently 70 degrees warmer than it was last week at about this time.
And we're in the studio again because guess what? It works.
Guess what?
So Runzas are no longer free today.
No, Runzas aren't going to be
cheap.
free. They're going to be like 30 cents or something like that. Not worth it. We were
Not
just
worth it.
last Tuesday. We
That's why we're not sponsored, right?
yeah. I think the kids, was it Raising Cane's that we went to last Tuesday? And Stacy was just like, you know what? I could use some runs of fries. And I thought, I wasn't even thinking, I'm like, okay, we'll stop on our way home. And I drove by. The line into Runza on 23rd was down the
Both ways.
block. Both
Yes.
ways. Like, I'm
was-
not sure how people were going to turn in and how they were going to zipper
Yep.
that in. But, oh, man,
They were busy.
they
It
were
was.
easy.
Peyton
Just
and I
imagine
noticed
what-
that.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead,
say,
Casey.
just imagine what it looked like at the other one more downtown.
Oh, there's
They don't
no
have
space.
space.
Yep.
You don't even go downtown on
No.
Tuesdays because Runza's got it clogged.
Yeah, Peyton and I noticed that on our way home from basketball practice on Tuesday. I was like, oh man, like I don't even. But they're pretty lickety split.
They
There's
do.
only
I
three
mean,
there, but
because they know what you're ordering.
yeah.
It's just whether or not you put cheese in it and pay the extra 30 cents.
Oh,
You just double the cost of the runs.
I know.
Went from free to 30. And now today it went from 30 to 60.
Oh man.
All right.
Okay,
Yikes.
we're done.
From food to Jesus,
Yes, please, somebody save
The
us.
bread of life.
the bread of life, who fed us, who multiplied bread and fish to feed the 5,000 or the 4,000, depending on which time he did it.
Great.
There you go. All right. So this week we started a new series. Since we're in Lent, we started a new series in worship where we're walking with Jesus to those different places that he walked throughout the last few weeks of his life. And this past week we went to Bethany. Bethany is a city just outside of Jerusalem, and stayed at Simon the leper's house for dinner. And his disciples were there, and Mary, the sister of Martha, and Lazarus was there, and we got to learn more about Mary. What'd you all learn about Mary this week?
She had perfume.
She had perfume.
Expensive perfume.
Expensive perfume.
All right,
Not like $100.
now so
I don't even
Beautiful
own
wife of
$100
mine.
perfume.
what's the most expensive perfume you think you've ever owned?
Under $50.
Under $50. Okay.
But I make my own perfume now.
Yes,
So the
because she
oils-
buys essential oils.
The oils that I buy to put the drops in, one of them was $100.
Yeah, I was gonna say it can't be.
But it will last a long time.
Is that
Was it-
Healy and Kristen?
That's just what I was.
Royal Hawaiian Sandalwood.
No.
Ooh.
Well, Lori started in that essential oil years ago, and she had this. It's like anything that was ever wrong ever had that helium, Kristen, whatever.
That or
Yeah, like that.
I kept on
frankincense.
calling it Hare and Krishna. I was like, I Hare and Krishna.
Use the good stuff, whatever it is.
But she's like, that stuff's expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but it cures everything apparently. Because
Yeah.
every time you looked
Yeah.
it up, it's like, oh,
Use that one.
Yep.
Yeah. The magic oil.
The magic oil.
yeah.
So I was just trying to think, like, are there perfumes now that actually cost that?
I bet.
Oh yeah.
I don't really.
Should I look it up?
Dior.
There
What,
are.
what would be the most expensive one, and what's in it that
I have no
makes
idea.
it so valuable?
Pure gold.
So one thing that I didn't talk about in the sermon was,
Shall we go in the world or just in the United States?
let's do U.S. for now.
US.
One thing that I didn't talk about is what smells do. Like, words, they get to the information part of our brain, but actually smells get to that emotional part of the brain. What are you
I'm just
doing?
all the essential oil people are really excited about what you're saying right
Oh,
now. 'cause
okay.
That's like
Sorry, Stacy was
You're
giving me,
reaching
for those of
different-
you who are listening, Stacy was giving me a very odd look. Like, she's like, ooh, yeah,
that's
keep
the benefit of
going.
essential oils is you tap into different parts of the brain.
Yeah. But like, so what are, Paul found a,
There's a gold. And I said gold. I mean, go figure. Apparently, there's a $1 million fragrance out there.
oh,
what?
there you go.
$1 million?
There's another
$1
one.
million.
This one's called Clive Christian, so it must be all right.
Oh, there you go.
But it's only $12,721.89 per ounce.
What?
Wow. That's
You should
Oh,
see.
that's
hold
it?
on. That's it.
That's
Hold
it.
on. Let me share the
Did it
screen
say-
because you got to see this picture of this thing.
Did it say
I-
how big how much of the perfume that she poured on? It said
All
a
of it.
bottle, but
All of it.
we don't know how much.
There it is.
I
There
would
it is.
guess.
And this is. I'm just saying,
Wow.
if you're gonna do it, and this is the gold one, just in case you want to go get it.
That's the $1
my.
million one.
Yeah.
But you're paying for the gold too.
Yeah. But I
Maybe
mean,
the perfumes.
Oh,
Oh, that was a
Imperial.
DKNY.
so
But the
I've
gold
Christian
around
one,
it
Imperial
makes it a-
Majesty perfume.
how many ounces is in here? What do you think?
One.
Yeah, it's it looks tiny.
It's a tiny little bottle.
But yeah, so if you have that, you're not like dumping it out. You're not letting the kids play with
No.
it.
I bet it smells horrible.
You're right. It probably
It
does.
probably does.
It probably does. And you regret it. But so yeah, so it was an alabaster jar. So that means like,
Decent amount.
yeah, I don't know. It wasn't like a jug. But no matter how much it was in the jar, she emptied all of it. And that's expensive. But what she was doing is she was anointing Jesus as king, as the king. But yeah, so as these smells, like it opens up that emotional part, and it's very possible that I mean, when you get doused in perfume, it probably sticks with you. And they didn't take showers all the time. Yeah. So this is, Paul found a picture of an alabaster jar. And interesting about that is, look, how do you open that?
You have to take the seal off, right?
Yeah.
Probably
Seal on the top.
break it.
I don't know. I don't even know if this is real.
Right. It's usually you break it. You have to break it.
Oh, up here?
Usually you'd break the neck off.
Huh.
And so once you've opened it,
You have to use
It's
it.
open.
it's open.
So they seal in the freshness
Yeah.
for 12,000 an ounce.
Yeah. So it's very possible though that Jesus took that scent with him all the way to the cross. Now it was mixed with other things by the time he got to the cross, other smells, but it's very possible that smell could have stayed with him. That emotional, that could have kept triggering this instance. As going back to that anointing as king, that what she has done is beautiful, because Jesus says she has prepared me for my burial. So I just thought that was, I didn't really go into that because it was kind of a sidetrack, but it very easily could have.
So this one makes more sense. You
Then-
can break the top.
Yep. So again, if you're listening, just search, alabaster jar. I'm sure you can find them on the Googles, or search PewTalk on YouTube, and you can see the.
What you want?
It's not shameless.
You can see our facial expressions.
Yes.
Anyways,
So there you go.
I don't know how I would. So I guess the main question is, if you had a $12,782.86 per ounce per jar of perfume, and so the main thing you were saying, that she broke this open, poured it on Jesus, anointed him, and the disciples were like, "What?
Yeah. Why did you waste that? That could have been.
We could have sold that and
Yeah.
fed all these people."
Yeah.
And then Jesus said
that what she has done is a good thing. Why do you bother her? What she has done is a beautiful thing. She's preparing me for my burial. You will always have the poor, but you won't always have me with you here physically like you do. And so, so one of the things we talked about is, do we give like Mary? I mean, Mary lived by that word, give. It wasn't about keeping that, because like we said, if we have a $64,000 bottle of perfume, we were holding on to that tight. For me, it's going under lock and key. I'll pull it out at very special occasions for all the times that I wear perfume, and just dab it right here and right here. Yep. And
6,000.
yeah.
7,000.
Right. But you're gonna almost worship it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do everything that you can to keep it safe. You're going to do everything that you can to make it last. You really basically, you're going to worship it. But what Mary says is, no, I'm not worshiping this. I am pouring this out on Jesus. I'm giving everything that I have. That had to be the most expensive thing that she owned. So I'm giving everything that I have to Jesus to prepare him to give everything that he has, his life, for the world. So what is it that we have that we hold on to, that we aren't willing to give up?
I think that answer is different for everyone, and that's the challenging thing. And you can see real quickly what the disciples weren't willing to part with. It's the fact that, the first thing they go to is, I don't know if they were honestly saying this or if it was a cop-out answer, but we could have fed the poor with this. They're focused on what it was worth and not what the gift meant to be given. And I think also on top of that, there's value in what the gift means to be given. And real quick, you can figure out what something means to someone, not only by what they won't give up, but also by what they'll give. And depending on the
and how they give it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at how Mary gave this gift, I don't think it was to show off, to be in front of, a group of people. In ancient Israel, anointing a king was a very public event. I mean, it's essentially, it's, if you could compare it to anything, it's like in England, a knighthood. You gather the kingdom to see this.
Yeah.
And so it, Mary was making it known that she believed he was the Son of God, the Messiah. And even though, Peter once said that, Peter wasn't the one giving the gift, it was Mary.
Yeah. And I think, like, going back to what you said about, it's not only what you give up, or, it's what you're willing to give. And it makes me think of, like, Mary she really could have wasted that. I mean, she could have said, you know what, I don't need this. And she could have just, like, thrown the thing on the floor and wasted it. And, like, there are things that we could say, hey, I'm giving this up. We're in the season of Lent. We can fast from things in very different ways. I can say I'm giving up chocolate for Lent because it's starting to get a little pooch around the middle. Or I could say, you know what, I'm giving up chocolate for Lent because that's become my vice. That's become what I go to when I'm struggling, when I'm frustrated. And so for me to give that up means I have to rely on Jesus instead. Or, you can say, well, I'm giving up chocolate because it's my vice. And so I'm taking on extra alcohol this Lenten season. Like, those, just giving things up is not beneficial. Like, what Mary did was she gave this up to prepare Jesus for his burial. She gave this up to anoint him as the king. So it's not about this, and it wasn't about this posture of, look at what I'm giving up, but it was Jesus, this is for you. And so it's very easy in the Lenten season to boast about what we're giving up. When in Matthew, in the Sermon on the Mount, when Jesus talks about fasting, he says, yeah, when you fast, and he does say when, not if, but when you fast, basically clean yourself up. Don't walk around grumbling and complaining that I didn't get my chocolate today. But go around like everything, like things are even better than normal. But use that time of fasting as a time to replace that with Jesus.
And I think also when you look at gift giving, it's a lot easier when you realize, like, for example, if it's for my wife, there's a lot more effort into that because, outside of Jesus, my wife is the most important person in my life. I want her to know that.
Is she in the other room, by the way? Just
not in earshot.
Is she hearing this? Okay.
Not in earshot, but and so that changes that. I probably wouldn't give as much effort to show someone else I care as much as I would her. But, she also has loved me unconditionally. And I think to understand part of the reason of what Mary's doing, you have to look at what just happened to her. About a week or so prior, her brother was dead, Lazarus, for 4 days, and Jesus raised him from the dead. Like, it's, how do you say thank you to that? I mean, at some point, a year's salary worth of perfume doesn't seem like enough if God brought your brother back from the dead. I mean, it's looking at what was Mary doing and where did it come from? It's the fact that Jesus gave this huge gift to her, and in many ways, Jesus, gives the huge gift of salvation to us, and I think that's the point the disciples weren't quite getting yet, which they were famous for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep thinking about, I think it's 2 Corinthians verse. Each one should decide in their hearts what they will give. God loves a cheerful or joyful giver. And I think that's illustrated here too. She decided, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour this on his head. I'm going to anoint him. It's worth it. and I'm doing this from a posture of joy and thankfulness, like you said, Casey. Here's what you have done for me, Lord, and this is not even enough, but this is what I have and what I can do. This is what's of value that will mean something. And be, I think, symbolic for her too, saying, I'm doing this. He is more valuable than this. So showing that to him, but also reminding herself of that too. I think that's a part of giving.
Yeah.
Is I'm doing this in recognizing that there's something bigger and greater than this one thing I have.
Yeah.
Paul's looking very serious over there.
Well, one of the big things that I was asking myself was, how does this change your perception of giving?
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a perception of what it means to give, and then does that take it to a new level?
Well, and that's, I was thinking, I was actually just going to ask a very similar question, because so often when we talk about giving in the church, it's about giving to the church. But that's exactly what the disciples were asking for. Oh, you should have given that to us, given that to the church. Lacey just went away. Bye, Lacey. It's often about giving to the church. But this was about her gift in a way that's giving. It's a thank you to Jesus, but it's also a way of giving back to Jesus. And so, yeah, how does that change how you give? Again, I will continue to say, we talked about the, we're getting echo now. We talked about the tithe challenge. And we shared one of those, the test me challenge. We shared one of those ways that God had blessed someone through the midst of that test me challenge. And so it can be easy to say, oh, pastor's talking about giving, he just wants more money. The tithe it's a command by God. I can't make that any easier on you. If you don't want to tithe, that's between you and Jesus. But that's even Jesus says, do not neglect the tithe. But this is different. This is a gift of offering, a free will gift. That's just, this is important to me. This is special to me. This is how I want to give.
Well, that's where because the gift of finances, the gift of perfume, gift of time, gift of energy, knowledge.
Yeah.
I can keep on going, but
the life of stewardship is bigger than just giving your tithe.
Because I kind of picture 10% is money, and then all the other giving that you do is
extra.
Well, extra. I mean, it's just who you are.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Because when I think of giving, I think it is you're giving of yourself. It's almost like your kids are asking for something from they need something, and you're giving your time, your energy. But it's not because, oh man, you're such a jerk. It's more of like, I need to give this as a parent, as whatever, as a friend to, you need time to talk. I will give you the time to talk. I'm going to give you the time to talk. Yeah. Even though it's tax season. So none of my friends should have problems during the season. You guys can see me on April 15th, and then I'll sit down.
Or we can talk to you. We just can't talk about taxes.
So accountants and pastors, we are busy from mid-February through mid-April. Find somebody else that cares. No, that's not how that works.
That's not how that works. That is the expensive bottle of perfume, because that we're busy, and yet we take the time.
Yep.
So,
right. But that's,
how are you guys out there giving? I mean, you guys have any stories of that? You guys can comment. We can always talk, give it more fuel to this fire, I guess.
There you go.
But Lacey, you had an interesting question before we started.
Which one?
I don't know.
About the movies.
Oh, this is going a whole different direction.
But then I did ask you, I said, Paul, would you give up all of the control? Because Paul is able to mute us. So all of a sudden he can shut me off just like that. And I said, Paul, would you give up all of the power for feeding people, but now I'm going to change it. Would you give up all of the power for Jesus? I know your answer should be yes.
Well,
but you're gonna think about it for a second and be like, I really like to mute people.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, it's just because this is what I do, but it's not like it defines me and who I am. And suddenly if this goes away, I cease to exist.
Right.
Yeah. But the question is, that we have to ask ourselves is, how does giving up the power?
You want me to mute you?
How is that for Jesus? Right. I know you're just asking the hypothetical. But like for us, our biggest asset is our house. So because we were, the question that we kind of talked through in the text group is, what would you be willing to give up for Jesus? Would just walking out of our house and saying, well, we're gonna go be nomads, and this is for Jesus, is that really helpful? Or is it like, oh, hey, it's negative 30 degrees and you don't have, we might have friends without power.
Right.
Thankfully in Fremont, we had
power plant.
We have power. Thanks, Mayor. I know
he was in a hamster wheel going.
Yeah, there you go. But we've got so many friends. I had a bunch of friends in Houston. One of them texted me, I think that was 74 hours that they were without power, they were without water. They were able to connect with people that were able to open up their house. And another guy I talked to, he said we were able to go home to family, go spend time with parents, because we just couldn't. We had 3 kids, 4 and under. We had to go do something, and so their parents, right? It's not as big of a sacrifice when it's your family, but what if it's not? What if we saw that with the flood a couple of years ago? I mean, people were opening up their homes. People. One of my favorite was a family who they were flooded. They couldn't get back to their house. They couldn't do anything. They went to Walmart and bought stuff to bring to Trinity because they're like, we've got a place to stay. We've got friends that we can stay with. Yep. We're going to be taken care of. We don't know what our house will look like when we get back, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters is making sure these people who don't have a place to go to have blankets, have an air mattress, or have water. Yeah. That was one of the coolest things for me during the flood a couple of years ago.
And I think during that time is when I witnessed that kind of giving.
Yep.
Because before that, if you did this, let's just say we fast forward to 2018 and you did this before the flood, before COVID, and you had the exact same conversation, would our perception be different? When everything was good, before we had all these tragedies. I mean, people's lives are hard. I'm just saying, but before we went through 2 years essentially of.
The interesting thing is the first one, the flood, really brought people close together physically. And then the second one pushed people away physically.
In a sense, yes.
Yeah.
But it opened up a lot of arms.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
everyone would reach out to somebody. Like the story with the flood, I also knew somebody that's like, well, I can't go home right now, but I might as well go do all of these things, like fill sandbags and check on my neighbors and see, oh, can I take my airboat out and go get somebody that's stranded? And that is, you can't put that into words, that gratefulness, that gratitude, that, I'm just going to turn myself over to somebody else. You can't, and then the same thing kind of with COVID, you've got friends or family or even people that you don't know that are quarantined at home that cannot leave. And you're like, you know what? It's not a big deal for me to go and do this and drop this off. It doesn't seem like a big deal to you, but it means a world of difference to them.
Well, and one of the I mean, I've seen both sides of that. And one of the coolest things that happened when my wife and I were in quarantine, we had been preparing for this if it would happen, with her being a teacher, being exposed a lot. So we actually were all set on food when we had to quarantine. And the one thing we didn't calculate on was bird food, because we have 3 birds, and I guess we don't think about our pets as much as we should have. But the coolest part was, I texted, Stacy had let us know that if we needed anything to reach out, and I said, it's only $5, but our birds might starve. And sure enough, Stacy was amazing. And
I'm the bird food girl.
The bird.
There you go.
Yeah.
But she didn't buy the Finch fries.
He said
But
they were.
fries?
He said they were picky eaters. He said this is the only one they will eat.
Yep.
And I've never looked at bird food before.
No.
So they had Finch fry bird snacks. I'm like, that's adorable. But he says they don't like anything else, so I'll just stick with the food.
Totally.
I've got
buy
some.
some of those.
I've got some of those on the other side of the room. If you want me to grab them real quick.
There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
hilarious. No,
I have no idea what you're talking
I
about.
had
Finch
kind of
food, Finch
this-
fries.
the
I'd
same
never seen it
experience
before.
too when I was in quarantine. So then all of my family was in quarantine, and Hudson doesn't do dairy, and we were about out of almond liquid. I'll just say it that way because it's not milk, and I don't like to call it juice. So whatever it is, almond product.
I like almond milk.
I know, but apparently that's like a big deal with the dairy farmers because it's not milk. So Jeff was telling this sidebar. Jeff was telling me that there's some
Our food conversations.
no that is it the U.S. Dairy Association? I don't know what it's called. I apologize to all you dairy farmers. I don't know what it's called, but they're trying to get that the wording changed to not have it say almond milk because it's technically not a dairy product, so therefore it is not a milk. I know this is the weirdest stuff I know, and that's why you guys have me on this podcast. But I don't
So
even remember.
we're-
Anyways,
We're aggravated because we
Yes.
call something milk.
yeah, that's not. So I don't know. As Paul's sticking his eyeball in his microphone. So a friend of mine reached out and she's like, "Can I do anything? And can I pick you up anything?" I'm like, No, we're fine. And then I hear Hudson, "Mom, I don't have any nut milk." And I'm like, "Okay." So I text back. I'm like, "All right, Amy, we need almond milk with some apples, some bananas, and a loaf of bread." And all of a sudden, this just appears. I had a lot of ding dong ditching appears on my doorstep. And I was so grateful for that, and here I prepare for, a pandemic all the time because you've got all kinds of stuff in reserves, but almond milk,
Yeah.
bananas, and apples, I did not. So.
Yeah. Paul, we brought you an 11-pack of beer.
Well, you brought my wife an 11.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
And a plant.
And a plant.
And a plant.
And a plant. Oh,
Well,
my
it was
goodness.
in all these special thing. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's one of those things that when Aldi says there's a plant, you better get there now. Like
Yeah.
you should have got there 10 minutes
'Cause all
ago.
Right.
us-
Because
all
it
us
comes in
women.
at 2 on Tuesdays,
Oh,
right?
seriously?
That-
You guys know
Sometimes.
this?
Oh, it's impossible. If you
No.
don't get there, man, forget it.
I do not own one house plant. I used to have tons, and then I had children, and then everybody's like, "You
So-
should get rid of the
I know
house
who to
plants."
buy.
Why?
What next?
Why? Are they going to eat it?
Yes, that's exactly what the people told me.
I think they're old enough now.
I think so.
I think so. Of course, they're drinking.
I will-
You
Buy you a
called it
houseplant.
nut milk. I just want to say that.
I know I did. I didn't even know what to say.
So why was there only 11-pack of beer? What happened to the?
Yeah, I was going to
Well,
say,
no
what
one-
happened
Did
to
you
the
drink it
12th
on the way
one?
over?
I
Not
don't
on the way
drink beer,
over, but it
wasn't
did
me.
get removed and taken
So
somewhere.
you could set the plant in there?
No,
No.
I don't know. I was funny because Lori's just like, we got 11-pack of beer. And I'm like, they sell such a thing?
No, there was one that I wanted to try. It was a taster, and I
it
wanted to
was
try
Boulevard.
one.
So Boulevard down in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Now owned by Budweiser.
Oh.
There you go. All right, so those are ways like it's just timing on a lot of these things. So like if somebody brought you almond product,
Almond
almond liquid
Unsweetened
product
vanilla.
today, you'd be appreciative of it, but it'd be like, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
But because they brought it to you when you had that need,
yes. It meant-
that's
yeah.
and so that's what that's the consideration is, what are the needs? We talked about this a couple weeks ago. See a need, fill a need. It doesn't have to be this. It can be a $64,000 gesture, but it doesn't have to be a $64,000 gesture. Because that might mean the world to someone who just needs lunch.
Yeah.
Well,
Card
and
in
if,
the mail.
Yep.
and if you look at the story, Jesus is less than a week from being crucified. Of course, there was no changing his mind. He was going to do this for us, but it doesn't mean he was looking forward to it. I mean, and along with that, his disciples were going to abandon him. A crowd of people were going to laugh at him and make accusations that were nowhere near true. So he knew all of this was coming. And you think what that gesture would have meant to him in that moment. That just gesture of pure care, kindness, and love. And of course, we can't read Jesus's mind, but along with being 100% God, he was also 100% human. And I think that had to have meant a lot, particularly during that week.
Yeah. We've all had those weeks.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how one comment even can change your feeling on that week. Yeah.
We're pretty quiet today.
Someone talk about food.
Well, this is funny because I do have one last story. So we were
About
at
food.
a basketball tournament in Norfolk this past Saturday. And our basketball boys played 4 games. So at 12:30, sadly, the concession stand ran out of anything that had any amount of protein in it. So hot dogs, pizza, they even ran out of soda, Gatorade. It was popcorn and water. And that morning I was packing a cooler. Thank you, Raylyn, for telling me always bring food. So I was packing my cooler and I just tossed a bunch of stuff in there. And Peyton kind of looks at me like, geez, Mom, are you bringing enough? And I'm like, I just have this feeling that we're going to need this.
Yep.
And he's like, you're so weird. And I'm like, no, I just have this feeling. I'm like, and I just kept chucking more stuff in there and grabbed a case of pop chips from Costco and threw it in the back of my car. So it is the 3rd game. And the parents and everybody behind me were like, the concession stand is out of food. We need to feed these kids. And I'm like, I got a sandwich stuff in my car and chips and cuties and apples and water and Gatorade. And no, I did not, sadly. And I had brought the cooler inside because another parent was hungry. I'm like, well, here, just eat a sandwich. And his mom's diabetic, and I wanted to make sure that she could have a sandwich too. And then Aaron leans over and he goes, we need to feed these kids. And I'm like, let's make some sandwiches. So we did. We used everything I had in my cooler and made sandwiches, cut them in half. And those boys were so thankful for that little bit of food. And at first they didn't want to take it. And I was like, no, here, eat. You need it.
Eat your food.
But everybody just kind of looked at me like, wow, we're super glad you had that. And I'm like, I am too. And I'm like, my kid made fun of me for, and then a basketball player called me out and he goes, did you bring your whole kitchen? And I'm like, no, but yes. So there we go.
There you go. Again, it's just that the timing.
Yeah.
So therefore, gifts are only good when his timing's good.
No.
Yes.
No.
Not always.
No.
And I guess I shouldn't say the word gift, but I even think like a gift is a phone call from somebody that you haven't heard from in a long time.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't have to be perfect timing, but just to see it is a blessing.
You call them up. Hey, what's up? No.
Yeah. I've even done that. I'm like, can't talk now. Got to go. But thank you.
I haven't talked to you in 5 years.
My kitchen is on fire. I cannot talk right now. Let me call you back.
You answer the phone when that happens?
Knowing me, I probably would.
Yeah.
Like, hey, my stove's on fire. Anthony, can you please call 911? My stove is on fire.
Yeah, I accidentally spilled over nut milk on top of the.
I did. I wonder if that burns.
I'm
Stacey just doesn't answer the phone.
Don't call me. I won't answer.
Don't call her. It doesn't
Okay.
matter what.
So I should just start randomly calling you.
I won't answer.
I'd
Won't
call you
answer.
right now,
Am I?
but we're using my phone. So
I have phone anxiety. I really don't like talking on the phone.
What?
Wow.
It might be better now that I've been on a podcast and like
No, it won't.
talking.
Do you think that's because of the age
Probably
range
not.
of things?
What do you mean?
Well, like for example,
Stacy grew up talking on the phone.
no, but think about it.
It was fun.
We
she had a
now
phone when
get
she was
random
younger.
texts all day, every day from friends, family, spam, doesn't matter. Well, before cell phones, we would go an entire day without,
It's too much information.
yeah. So I don't know. Somebody and I were having this conversation. I don't remember who it was, but
I still remember the
I don't
free
know.
nights and weekends. And you're
Yep.
like, I'm sorry. What we can't talk
Okay.
right now.
Can
It
you
is
call me on
6:58.
Saturday?
yes.
It is 6:58. I will call you in 3 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. I had a pager.
Did you really?
Ooh.
Well, I don't know how I got it. To be honest with you,
Pager.
no, I don't. It's a pager, and so they paged me, and I had to call up and listen to the message.
Yeah.
And then I could page it. Oh, the silliness of
Did you
technology.
wear it on your belt? Were you
I
cool like
forgot
that?
all
Dude,
about
why
pagers.
wouldn't I?
Oh,
What was your
Screwed
first cell phone? Did you have a
My
Nokia?
first one, yes.
Yes, I did.
Uh-huh.
I did. I had it was a flip phone. It wasn't
That
the
was your
Nokia.
Razor?
No,
No, it wasn't the Razor. It was, I don't remember what it was.
mine was the Nokia.
I think it was a Motorola something.
Do you guys remember the old texting when you had to go, okay,
The T9.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
when it went to T9 and you could like just type one number per letter and it would figure out which, yeah,
But then you kind of have to scroll through a little bit.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was bad at that.
Communication has changed.
It really has.
What would Jesus have, like, he came at the right time.
Would he ever answer his phone?
I think you get a lot of calls.
Right. So like,
Pharisees are calling again. They want to start a fight.
yeah, like, nah, I'm going to send that one to voicemail.
I know
2
it's
rings
lying,
and a
I'm not
voicemail.
answering it.
Oh, he ignored me.
He's
Jesus.
lying.
But like, when Jesus, it was important that he came at the time that he came.
Right.
Right. And that's why, as we go to these places of the passion, we'll see the importance of where he was and when he was. But it's just, those are some of the things that I enjoy having conversations about. There's no right answer in the, what would Jesus, how would he be different if than what we saw then? If he were living today, how would he communicate differently? But those are the discussions. These are the
Just
weird
wanna know what we're all
discussions that we can
thinking.
have.
I just have massive text beacon going through my head. Do not sin.
Your daily message from Jesus.
Knock it
Sorry.
off.
Sorry.
Jesus.
I would kind of like to see the parables that show up on my Facebook feed.
Yeah.
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 Of course, they'd be like, you get the meme. Where do you get that meme from?
Yeah. But like, so we got a glimpse of what some people thought that might be like when with Bruce Almighty, where he gets all the prayers in the form of an email. And you just and then he just hits yes to all and it turns it into a mess. But yeah, those are the things. But this is what I love about being able to get information and reflect on it. Like, sometimes it's goofy. Sometimes the conversation is, which cell phone would Jesus still have a flip phone? Or would he have a smartphone?
Pager.
Maybe Jesus has the pager.
Beep, 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 beep. Oh,
Those are fun, but
Would
it's
Jesus-
just fun to have these conversations.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily matter what the conversation is, as long as the conversation. Okay, that came out wrong.
Yeah.
It does sometimes matter what the conversation is, but as long as I'm so messed up today.
it's because it's sunny.
It is
Jesus loves
sunny.
you.
I know Jesus does love me, but that's just it. You can have these conversations. It may not be about what you learned in confirmation, but that family that you're together with, you are talking about it. You're creating relationships, and then you learn things, and it's like, oh, Jesus put these people here because I needed them at this time, or these are good people to have in my life. These people will be good friends. These, that type of thing. So one door
Yeah.
closes, another one opens.
Yeah, but
Or
speaking
something like
speaking
that.
of gifts, though, gifts of friendship and how that works and the timing of that. Because I've gone through life and I've had many homes in different states. You guys gone through that?
I have not.
Well, you kind of have, but not.
Moved from Lincoln back to Fremont, but yeah.
Yeah, I moved from Boston to Osawatomie. Yeah,
Yeah.
Osawatomie. then to Kansas City, then to Buffalo, back to Kansas City, now up to Fremont, and Blue Springs in the middle of that. I don't know. It's just been a lot moving, and so you make these connections, and you have these different friends. And the friends you make in those areas and what you needed them at the time, and then you move and you make new friends, and it's like, oh, I still communicate with them.
Yep.
But not as frequent. I used to see this person every day, and now I talk to them once a year or something.
Yeah. So Paul, it's hilarious that you bring that up today. Because we, as staff, and some leadership, we're going through the Being Challenge this Lenten season. And so the Red Letter Challenge by Zach Zender, our congregation went through 2 years ago. And this fall, we're going to go through the Being Challenge as a congregation, but some leadership, some staff is going through it right now. And today is that kind of the first day of challenges, the first day of the first keystone habit of Jesus, which is commit to community. And the first challenge today is to, what are your rings of community? You've got, because Jesus had the three, Peter, James, and John. And then he had the 12 disciples, and then he had the 72 disciples, and then there were the 500, the crowds that would follow. And so, what are those rings of community? And we had that conversation about how, like, one of the teachers said, it's amazing how even in just the last 2 years, I've seen people come and go out of those rings. But it's important to know who's in our community so we can see, are they helping us? And the video that Zach that kicked us off was an escalator. Are these people in your community? Are they helping you in the right direction to get up to where you need to go? Or are they pulling you away from that? And so even if you go up the escalator the wrong way, you might still eventually get to where you want to go. But by the time you get there, you're going to be exhausted. And so how does your community affect getting you where you want to be as a person?
So when you use the word community in that context, it's really your circle of influence.
People. Yeah.
Is it, would you say, more influence or circle of friends?
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
I
to
do
both.
find a distinction between the two, because there are mentors and different things that I wouldn't necessarily call friends. I mean, when I talk to them,
Acquaintances.
but they have a lot of influence just because of who they are. And then there's friends that I actually confide in and talk to. And does that make sense?
That's yes. So when he's in this discussion, it's more those friends, those ones who are who you're doing life together with a lot, who do have influence, even if it's not
An official title.
an official influence,
relationship.
but like,
Do you want to be
if-
my friend?
but like,
It's like
like
passing notes in
it's the
school, yes or no.
yeah, it's the the college friends. Do all of your friends in college, do they study on Friday nights, or do they go drinking and partying and drugs? And
Those are the only two options.
those are the two options. Yep. Are you a nerd like me, or
Art, band, and drama geek right
Oh,
here.
man,
But you
yep.
wouldn't place that one.
yeah? So, but that's the how are your, if you want to kind of get to, if you want to follow Jesus, if you want to grow closer to Jesus, are your friends helping you grow closer to Jesus, or are they pulling you away from that?
And are you able to have conversations like this
Absolutely.
regularly?
And does anybody else have escalator anxiety? Like, I'm terrified to
No,
get on
I'm
the
just
escalator.
telephone
You're thinking I
calls.
get sucked in? Like,
Yes. It is terrible.
I often do the Buddy the Elf escalator walk, and I put one foot on and just let it go and see how
Oh.
long I can go until
Nope.
the
that's a
second
good
one.
stretch, I
And-
think.
It
I will
is.
say it was pretty bad. Like the first time we took the kids to the airport, like Hudson wants to hold my hand to get on this escalator. And I'm like, dude, I need one hand on the rail and then the hand on my suitcase or my bag or whatever. And Hudson's like, Mom, can you hold my hand? And I'm like,
No.
okay.
I was just thinking of, you're talking about escalator. You're talking about these different friends. One type of friend can actually have you moving forward, like you talked about. I was thinking the way that I use an escalator is I get on the other side and I just keep on walking.
Yeah.
So you don't actually go anywhere.
Right.
And then I was like, yeah, I could make that into a metaphor of friends that just kind of keep you where you are. And
Yeah.
Yep.
Or push you
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because that's one Like you can
But are they
use
friends then? It's a hypothetical. It's like, what is it? What is the definition of a friend, and what is the definition of somebody who is? Because you can get into that kind of conversation.
Well, so you're right. Maybe we should just use influencer. Again, not in that like that's their job title or whatever, but they have influence, so they might not be a friend. I mean, the people that you party with at college might not be friends, but they might
only two choices.
only two choices, but they might have great influence on
that's why
on
I asked you.
Yeah, you're right. I was not thinking of that in that way, but once you just explained it that way,
I keep on thinking of the people in my life, especially during college, different because in Buffalo, I had bandmates and different things that were in my. I would not consider them friends in that manner, only because I keep on talking about my time in Buffalo. The 3 years I lived there as the dark ages, I didn't feel like I grew emotionally or spiritually or intellectually. I just was there.
Mhm.
I think, thank God, Lori took me out of that.
Yep.
It brought me Kansas City. Yay. Yeah, I was thinking of those individuals that don't really, they might have introduced me to different types of music and stuff to listen to. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But it didn't make me grow as an individual.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Where I've had other friends that I would love to sit down with them constantly and talk to them, but they don't live in Fremont, so I don't get to see them all the time.
Mhm.
And I think everybody's definition of friends or a friend is different.
Well, Facebook, I have like a billion friends.
Well,
I tell you.
Yeah, but you've got some that I don't know I don't even know how to explain it.
Well, you have
Those people that
have,
always have your back.
you have acquaintances, and
Yeah.
then you have friends, and then
Yep.
you have
and that's what I like about the circle is those three, and so Stacy, you're
Best-
in my
best
in my
friends.
three, but those
I
who
would hope that the person you married to is.
Yeah.
I would hope so
Yeah.
too, but
But
I
then
would think that
then
it's not always.
there's the
This
12,
is
and so
true.
as I was thinking about that this morning, I was like, you guys are
I'm in the 12.
you guys are my 12, and probably it's probably like you guys and Peter and Ada
12.
like that we work out with. I mean, and Robert, like they're part of that man, we do a lot together.
Oh, yeah.
And we have influence on each other,
Yes.
even because I know this because there's so many times that we do a workout, Paul, and you say, I'm not racing you on this one. And what do?
race.
We race. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we push each other and we encourage each other.
But
And
that's what people in those workout groups, because sometimes you get up and you're like, I don't feel like doing this today.
Yeah.
But then Gerber shows up and goes, hey, I'm going to lift more than you. And you're like, no, you're not.
suck it. I did, by the way. But my back hurts. How's your
Yeah, my leg hurts.
yeah, whatever. We're getting old.
You're
What's
I'm not
the
gonna
old
answer
saying?
that one.
If you had fun, you won, right?
Oh,
there it is.
Robert.
Yes.
No.
Did you say Casey Robert? Did you use his full
Rob
name?
Full name.
I did. I don't know his
Fine.
middle name.
I'll
Casey,
go.
insert a middle name, Roberts.
Yeah, okay. I'll go back to my other saying. If you're not first, you're last.
There you go.
There you go. That's better.
That's what our children
I like the
run.
first one better.
Yeah, our children need that because they can't even come downstairs to dinner without racing and fighting, and it's joy.
I have no idea where they get the competitive nature from.
I have no
but-
idea. I can't imagine that.
Mm.
So who
That's
wins the
not
race
me.
usually?
Whoever pushes the other
Well,
kids out of
here's
the way.
problem. If Bennett loses, he goes crazy and starts
I was
punching
gonna
and
say, I bet
kicking
Bennett
and
wins.
screaming. So
It's-
they frequently
it's
let him
Good
win that.
times. Good times.
Might makes right.
He cracks me up.
Yeah, I would.
He may be the smallest, but
I think there's a lot of the influence because there was a couple of people in my life that I would consider mentors
Uh-huh.
that really pushed me in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily hang out with them. That makes sense.
Well, and I do think the more I kind of think back to that question, it is who are those who have the greatest influence on your life? Who are those three? And it doesn't have to be exactly three. But
I only got one
I only got one. I have four.
Well, the thing is
Get
that
rid of one.
sometimes your closest friend and confidant is one person. It might
Oh,
be
yeah.
your wife, or if you're not married, it might be your best friend that you consider.
Yeah. But it also could be that roommate that you don't consider a best friend, but
you're going through life with.
Yeah, has a bunch of influence over you, or on, not over, but influence on you in terms of, this is how we do life.
Well, and I'm also thinking like, sorry, Lori, I'm going to talk about you. But Lori has a best friend that she's had forever. She lives down in Florida.
Mhm.
And the stuff that those two talk about is different than what Lori and I talk about, because I'm her husband. I'm also a guy.
Mhm.
There's stuff that Lori needs other, because there's stuff that I talk to with you that I won't talk with my wife about, because we're guys.
Yeah.
It's just like not bad things. It's just
No,
we talk different.
It's different.
Mhm.
I have got the same situation with my best friend in Iowa. She and
Who
I
likes Boston Red Sox?
Yes.
Yes.
I hated her when I first met her.
Because she liked the Boston Red
No,
Sox?
it had nothing to do with
Oh,
that.
okay, just checking.
Can't tell that I'm competitive. There used to be an accessory store here in the Fremont Mall that has closed. I actually helped open the store, Claire's, in 1996. Claire's Accessories. That
Not a
was
sponsor.
Not a sponsor. I'm not even certain they're in business anymore.
I think there's one.
But
in Omaha.
There's still,
Okay.
yeah.
So
There's not
anyways-
one in
Pearson
Fremont.
ears.
No, there's not one in Fremont, but I helped open that store and I worked my way up. And all of a sudden, she came in as a manager, and I didn't like her because she was changing things. I couldn't stand her. I wanted to get her fired. Oh yeah, we would have the words, and I couldn't stand her. Like, just, I don't like you. And then, ironically, I caught someone stealing, like an employee stealing, and I had to bring it to my manager. And I'm like, hey, this doesn't seem right. And sure enough, she was doing fraudulent returns. And my best friend and I bonded over that. So in 1997, we became friends. Or no,
Aw.
1998, because that's when she came. 1997.
Officially? Did you get like on one knee and make it official?
Well, I don't
They
know.
bought
And
the best friend
and our
necklace.
friendship,
Oh, what-
pretty much. We did. No, just kidding.
You worked
and-
at Claire's. You should
We
have.
should
Come
have.
on.
We had tons of scrunchies and hair clips and all kinds of
Where
things. but
where would you put a scrunchie?
I used to have longer hair
On your wrist.
of all the things.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's right.
But-
Sorry.
Anyways, she and I have been friends since 1997, 1998,
Aw.
something like that. But she has moved to Oklahoma, to Iowa, to Oklahoma, to Iowa. She lived in Omaha. She was there when both of my babies were born. And we have a really weird friendship that our husbands don't understand. And I remember when I went over to her and Brian's house that they had bought, and Brandy was trying to explain to him, Lacey and I have a really weird type of friendship. And he's like, okay. So we were just hanging out, and she and I can finish each other's sentences. We know.
Sandwiches.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
shoot.
And
Slow.
we knew where we were going with things. And he's like, yeah, you guys are right. You two are weird. And I'm like, that's just what makes us us. And my husband doesn't understand it either. And he's just lets it go.
Whatever.
But we can go weeks, even months without talking to each other, sadly. But we can pick up the phone and end up start. How's that? I don't even know. Take off where we start
Pick
up
up-
where we left
yeah.
off and
Yeah.
keep going.
And
So,
that is the power of friendship. And we're talking about gifts, but that is a gift in itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
We all find those individuals.
And important.
It is
Very important in community.
Well,
Um,
and in some
Jesus.
of my darkest times, it's amazing. Like, you talk about the timing of things, and I can tell you, one of my mentors, when I was going through a rough patch, I wouldn't have. I just remember the moment. Yeah, I didn't even know them that well. I just knew they would know how to handle this situation. I had a loose connection, and I just gave them a phone call. Hey, how would you handle this? And that led to an hour-long discussion. And now not only are they a mentor, but I do consider them a close friend. That if I, even if it's just something's rough and I know what to do, I just want to complain for a while, it's nice to pick up the phone and have that friend. And it's amazing, like, just those on a whim decisions that either change your life, or God puts those situations in times, the timing that he puts, you really, you can't script it. And I think that is why I think friendship is probably one of the most underrated gifts we can give each other.
Time.
So consider consider your community. And that's, we see that in the Gospels, and we'll see that as Jesus goes throughout the last week or so of his life is that community that he's surrounded with. And sometimes they mess up, but yet he still forgives and he helps them move forward. So, all right. Lacey, you want to close us in prayer? I didn't give you a chance to write it out. I apologize.
You didn't give me a chance to write it out.
Right.
Sure, I'll just wing it.
There you go.
You guys all ready?
Mhm.
You guys can now see me online panic while we do this. So, but there are no wrong prayers. Dear Jesus, thank you for all of the friends in our lives. Thank you for giving us the ability to talk about all of the things with everyone we come into contact with. Also, thank you for the glorious sunshine it is today. It seems to have lifted a lot of people's spirits. And we just come to you and hope that you can walk us through our daily life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
And we'll see you next week, Tuesday, 9:00.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep. And on that note.
Thanks for joining us this week. We pray that the Holy Spirit has used this time to focus you in on the one thing that you can practice this week as you live out your faith in your family and in your community. If you found this helpful, feel free to share it with a friend. If you would like to support the work that God is doing through Trinity Fremont, you can text a donation to 1-844-353-5782, or you can give online at www.trinityfremont.com/donate.